What is up everyone, Core51 here, time for another video, and I wanted to talk about something that is kind of relevant again. I'm not 100% sure if it is relevant, but I guess it is relevant. So by the time that this video comes out, Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13 free, if you want to call it that, has just came out on Steam, and I'm not sure if I should be recommending it or anything like that. This is more like a public service announcement than anything. But as much as I have heaps of qualms with that game in particular, if you already own 13, 13.2, you may as well pick up 13 free to go along with your collection. It's kind of an interesting port, the 13 games, the Final Fantasy 13 games on PC, because even with a great rig, you will still have trouble running it. And I don't know, I don't understand if it's because of it, from a technical standpoint, if everything's being front loaded onto the CPU and anything like that, but it is interesting. But if you already have the first two, you may as well grab the third one. It's pretty cheap at launch. I think it's 10% off on Steam. But something else that I wanted to talk about in relation to this was the a rumor that started back last year, around the same time last year as well, about a possibility of a Final Fantasy 13 Trilogy collection for the PS4 and Xbox One. Now, why I wanted to talk about this is because now that each game is on Steam, the PC community have pretty much dug their hands in. I think Durante dug his hands in a lot of the pretty much the two games and done an analysis on it. It's interesting to say the least that can the PS4 even run it at like 60 frames per second? And the question is, well, that is the question really, like, can the PS4 even run these games? PCs are having trouble running it, but that's because of optimization issues. Unless they had a specific team to go in and essentially rework the game to work on the PS4 architecture. Now, from my understanding, that these games were ports over from the 360 version onto PC. But in hindsight, is the trilogy a good idea? Well, I guess with the entire Final Fantasy sort of hype train that's being pushed out, I don't see it as a super bad thing. But in the same rumor or same sort of interview with Square, pretty much Square confirming that it's a good idea, but it's not within the realms of possibility from being done internally. Now, because of this, the reason for this statement is because most of the people that worked on 13 are now working on 15, and as we know now, the Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people, like pretty much the developer side of the staff, have moved over to FF14, FF15, and 7 remake. So internally, it's impossible. They're all busy with other jobs, and you know, I think pulling them off would just cause a ruckus. So Square Enix, pretty much saying, well, if we are gonna do it, we need some help from external studios. So maybe like a Blue Point Games or something along those lines that would have to dive deep into the code and essentially port it over. We've seen external studios do a good job, and then we see studios do a bad job. I mean, we saw the good job of Blue Point Games porting over the amazing Metal Gear Solid HD remake, HD collection, and it was running really good. Then you see bad ports like Other Ocean with Ultra Street Fighter 4 on PS4, which ran like crap, honestly, and it was a really sting. And the make matters worse, it was pretty much a big punch to the face to the consumers, because essentially they were marketing it as the definitive version, and it was anything less. So porting, having an external studio port these games would be interesting. I'd like to see, from a technical standpoint, it's interesting is what I mean, not from the gameplay or story side standpoint. It's average at best at being a Final Fantasy game. I wouldn't say it's super terrible, it's serviceable, but it could have done a lot more work. It could have easily been done so much work. Yeah, so essentially we I'm curious more than anything if this was to come to fruition. I'm curious as to how they would handle it from a technical standpoint, because those games are super like closed off in terms of coding. So I want to see that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, expect more videos, I guess. Have a good one. Core 51 out.